Let me take you on a journey back to 2009, the time some might say the peak of online gaming. The era of Xbox Live chats and YouTube montages, 2009 was a year that brought the gaming industry to the next level. A natural evolution from the fantastic years prior, and no game exemplified that more than Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. But why is the game so loved? What made Modern Warfare so good? Sit back, relax, and let's find out together. To truly appreciate the greatness 2009 bestowed upon us, we must first take a look at what came before, specifically between the years of 2005 and 2007. 2005 brought us the launch of what was then the next generation of console, the Xbox 360, and a year later, the PlayStation 3. And these two plastic boxes of joy would kickstart some of the greatest franchises we still play to this day. Titles like Gears of War, Saints Row, Dead Rising all debuted in 2006. But come 2007, we saw the likes of Assassin's Creed, BioShock, Mass Effect, Halo 3, Skate, Portal, Crysis, and of course, Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, the game that took COD to new heights of popularity. All these legendary franchises birthed or mastered in a single year. It's actually insane to think about. But let's stick to the point here. Let's focus on Call of Duty 4 for just a moment, because without its overwhelming success, Modern Warfare 2 would not have been the same. COD 4 was the first Call of Duty to be set in modern day. Its previous 3 installments all focused around various parts of World War II. So it was a big deal and a huge risk. But that risk would pay off as the gameplay was smooth and the graphics were simply mind-blowing at the time. I distinctly remember playing COD 4 for the first time as a kid and wondering why it felt so real. At the time, I didn't know what frame rate was, and I think this must have been one of the first games I played at a solid 60 because my brain just couldn't understand why I loved the way it felt. But everything about it was next level, like nothing I had ever experienced. The sound, the level design, the general vibe, and the atmosphere was movie-like. It was super easy to play too, as all COD games are these days, which helped my little pea-brain back in the day. The characters and the story were digestible yet entertaining and relatable. It formed a masterpiece that came to a satisfying ending. And maybe it's just me, but I didn't actually see it getting a sequel. It was a great conclusive ending, and in that moment in history, Call of Duty just didn't make sequels. But that was just the campaign. And though that was special in its own right, it was the online multiplayer that pushed the franchise into the stratosphere. Firstly though, you have to put this into perspective. Online multiplayer, for consoles at least, was still in its infancy. So just the fact that you could play with other real people was exciting enough for most of us. But the fact it had all this other stuff that we see as a given today within the multiplayer was simply unbelievable. I personally had never seen a ranking system in the game like this, one that screams, "You are the best," for even reaching rank 2. A constant stream of gold goodness, known as XP, fills your screen each time you take out another player. And I was saying to myself, wait, you're telling me if I keep using this weapon I love, I get to put a silencer on it? And maybe some red paint too? At the time, I signed my life away for that kind of stuff. Oh, and don't get me wrong, I was terrible. I remembered screaming with joy the first time I got an attack chopper. But I didn't care. It was stupid fun. Oh yeah, the kill streaks. What even were they? They were totally new as well. I mean, we only had 3. It was a UAV, airstrike, and attack chopper, but that's all we needed, because that's all we knew. COD 4 laid the blueprint out for one of the best multiplayer experiences on the planet. You create your class, show off your rank, play with your friends, and prestige, resetting everything, get a cool badge, and do it all over again. This shook the gaming industry in more ways than one, and soon the copycats would follow. So the very next year with Call of Duty World at War, this solidified the blueprint further. They took everything they had learned from COD 4 and transferred it back into the classic World War II setting. It was great, everyone loved it, but what we didn't know was where the formula would go next. So the hype began months before release. A sequel to a groundbreaking title in a ginormous franchise. The questions flooded people's minds. Where was the story going? What happened to the characters after COD 4? As I mentioned, the ending was reasonably conclusive, and what characters will be returning? It was the first time in history there was a direct sequel and people were excited. Then the trailers and the leaks came. Campaign trailers of helicopters falling from the sky, unbelievable graphics, and leaks of fan favourite characters possibly returning. And then the first look of the multiplayer arrived, and the rumours of what was to come. Whispers of massive kill streak rewards, and multiple attachment on weapons, things we had never seen or even expected. The hype train kept rolling, and it soon became the most anticipated title of the year, and it needed to deliver. And for once, I don't think anyone had any doubts that it would. And finally, Launch day. The wait was over. We all waited patiently for our pre-orders to come through the post or to finish school or work, but that evening, when the time came, a legend was born. The first thing many of us did was boot up the campaign. The multiplayer could wait for a moment. It was tradition, a rite of passage almost. In fact, I believe in some titles you couldn't even access the multiplayer until you've beaten the first mission or so. I could be wrong though, so correct me on that. As always, the game introduces you to its mechanics with a legendary obstacle course that judges your time and score to determine the recommended difficulty. I mean, there's nothing quite like nailing it and being told you should play on veteran. It's the ego boost every player needs before ultimately choosing regular instead, of course. Right after this though, you are dumped straight into the action, straight into a campaign that rides the line of controversy, loosely reflecting a war many of the population had seen only on the TV screens at this point. As soon as the first missile lands on the apartment building in Modern Warfare 2's depiction of Afghanistan, you know you're in for a wild ride. Of course, this is a Call of Duty campaign, and with that comes a ton of massive set pieces. And Modern Warfare 2 really went hard on these action style moments, but yet they found the balance nicely. Rarely did you feel they were out of place or too over the top. They weren't just thrown in there to look cool or to make you feel like a super soldier. They all fit in within the confines of the story and the level of realism they were going for. In hindsight, it must have been really difficult to pull off, as many games since then have tried to replicate this with a mixed reception. On top of this, the general pacing of the missions were expertly sewn together, as the two main factions you play as are the Task Force 141 and the US Marines, both with distinct approaches to missions. Many of the Task Force levels are slower, with moments of action to keep you on your toes, and are focused more on the story at a higher level, where the Marine levels are more boots on the ground, old school Call of Duty with lots of explosions and an emphasis on set pieces. Towards the end of the game, they do blend the two factions and the two styles into one, which again, they somehow pull off. But initially, the campaign draws you in with this balance of gameplay, so it doesn't matter what style of mission you like the most, you're still catered for either way. When it comes to character development and the relationship you build with them, I truly believe that this is the game in the Call of Duty franchise that cemented some of our favourite characters into gaming history. Sure, COD 4 did a fantastic job at introducing some of them, but Modern Warfare 2 built them up, put them on a pedestal, made you care, and in some cases, ripped them away just as fast. What they did with Soap was simply genius. A character you spent time imprinting yourself on during Call of Duty 4, turning this voiceless, faceless hero into the main character with a great personality, a gritty demeanour, built from the experiences from the prior title, really helped players love him more. Soap was you, the player, but now he is himself, a character you had felt you had helped create and mould in some way into this fearless leader you now see. For a Call of Duty game to have that level of emotional pull was unheard of. Every character that is lost in the series holds actual weight, and the only reason that is the case is down to the fantastic work the writers and level designers had done to bring these relationships to life. I spoke to friends after finishing the story, and some of them were actually shook for the next few days. I mean, granted, we were kids, and this kind of storytelling was fairly new to us, but even so. To this day, some of the scenes in the game still make me wince a little. Modern Warfare 2 has the perfect blend of realism and action movie madness. The campaign is ultimately a quote, Call of Duty campaign, but it really does touch on the morality and the decision making of all sides within this fictional conflict. And for what it is, it surprisingly makes you think. Hands down, one of the best, if not the best, Call of Duty campaign ever created. And then we had the multiplayer. The game that started and ended friendships. I mean, where do we even begin with this? Simply put, Call of Duty 4, but turned up to 11. More of everything must have been the motto the devs had. A fire everything approach was ordered, and my word, did it work. The maps birthed classics like Terminal, Rust, High Rise, Favela, Afghan. The weapon list doubled in size with its crazy decisions like machine pistols, shotguns, and rockets as sidearms. Iconic classes like the quickscoping intervention, the riot shield and dual shotguns, the birth of the throwing knife, and the one-man army noob tube spam. There was no such thing as balance when it comes to weapons because everything was overpowered. Enhanced further by new equipment like the tactical insertion, the booster's best friend, the bling perk that allows you to have 2 attachments on both primary and secondary weapons, which seems ridiculous now, and of course death streaks like Martyrdom and Final Stand that allows you to use your primary weapon in the down state and potentially even revive yourself. That was truly hated. Then you throw in insane kill streaks into the mix like the Chopper Gunner, AC-130, Stealth Bomber, EMP, and an actual nuke. Compare this to the 3 measly kill streaks we had in the previous titles, and you can see how this game was seen as off the rails fun. The jump between World at War and MW2 was astronomical. and this was emphasized further by the social aspect that was forever growing in the console space. The two frontrunners in social gaming in the console space at this time were Halo 3 and Modern Warfare 2, and there are a few main reasons for this, besides the fact they were both amazing games at the time. Firstly, they both encouraged being social via another thing we kind of take as a given these days, being able to express yourself through customization, from weapon skins to custom titles and emblems popping up every single time you do something for your team. It's subtle, but it's effective. Add this to a pre-match lobby with open mics and people just can't help but open their mouths. Whether it's to compliment the cool animated emblem you just unlocked or insult your camping playstyle, it all helped connect us like never before. Then, the community got creative. The number of crazy game modes that people used to play in custom games was godlike. You had full lobbies of people playing quickscopes, no-scopes on Rust, or playing Mike Myers and hide and seek, even really stupid ones like riot shields and throw knives only. It's this sandbox-like freedom that gave Modern Warfare 2 even more staying power. It even inspired the party games that we saw in later titles like Sticks and Stones or Gun Game. This all lent itself perfectly with the rise of a little website known as YouTube.com. With the ability to share crazy moments we all experienced so easily for the first time, people's memories, montages, final kill cams and rage fits were all forged and immortalized in the fires of the internet, forever burnt into our consciousness and relived even today as memes, gifs and sound bites. I believe that if Modern Warfare 2 was released today, it would still be classed as a great game. But what we must understand and appreciate is the time when it did release. It was the first to do many things. It created firsts for many people. The time, the gaming and online culture, the console generation, and even the political state of the world all lined up to create a perfect storm. The perfect window for this title to truly bloom into one of the all-time greats. And that is why Modern Warfare 2 is so loved. And that is it from me, guys. Modern Warfare 2 was a great game with so many memories. I want to know your favorite moments. If you're one of the lucky ones who got to experience the game at its peak. And if not, tell me what your favorite Call of Duty is down in the comments below as well. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, hit the like button to let me know and consider subscribing if you like this sort of content. But until next time, cheers.